What's up YouTube? We're back with another barber tutorial. I'm mainly going to be going over on how I simply do a low taper, a high taper in the back, and then a nice crispy lineup with some beard work, alright? So let's get into it. Like I always say, we start off with combing the hair out to make sure everything's nicely even, and then we're going to go ahead and take our number 2 guard. I am using my Gamma Clippers right here. These are unreleased yet, and I'm using that to go ahead and take down the bulk just to get everything nice and even, just so I know what I'm blending into. Usually I always start off with a number 2 guard or number 3 guard depending on the hair texture and how coarse or thin their hair is. Number 2 is really good for more coarse hair because it doesn't go too short and it keeps that darkness. But if you got someone with more finer hair, thinner hair, you would want to maybe start with a 3 or 4 guard just to see how the hair is going to react and how short it's really going to go with that number. After that, we're going to go ahead and start putting the ball guideline in. So I'm starting on this side, starting right where the ear connects, and I'm just going to go ahead and make that ball guideline. Then we're going to go over to the back, and he wanted it a little bit higher on the back taper, so we're going to go pretty much where his earlobes are, at the bottom of his earlobe, and that's where our ball guideline is going to be at. And then we're just going to follow that through, ball them out, get it all nice and ready. Make sure you're clean, make sure you're consistent. And like I say about being consistent, I'm checking the other side just to make sure that they're going to be even on both sides, because sometimes, believe it or not, some earlobes are not evenly on both sides. So you could use a reference point, which does work, but it's also very smart just to go back and double check and look for yourself. All right, now we're going ahead and balding him out. I'm using my Gamma shavers as well, just to make sure put a good ball guideline in there. Also right here, I'm going to show you guys that I make it nice and bald in the middle, but as I get more closer to the bald line, I'm either raking, going down, or I'm tapping and skidding sideways just to blend out that line. If we're doing a low taper, I want to go ahead and keep as much darkness around the hooks. So I'm starting with my 0 guard closed, and I'm making a guideline about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And then I'm going to go slowly open the lever, make another, fade that up a little bit, and then completely open the lever and flick out and into that number 2 guard. All right. And this is keeping and preserving that darkness around the hook, because mainly when it comes to a low taper, you want to see as much of the hook as possible, depending on each client and how they want it. But this is how I personally do my own tapers. So what you do to one side, you do to the other side. So I'm going to be flipping back and forth, showing you guys and explain to you guys what I'm doing on one side, and the other side you'll get to see it again. And just follow the steps and try being as consistent as you can. Next is going to be the 1 guard, and same steps. We're going to start closed, slowly work our way up to the lever open. All right, so we're opening the lever 3 times, which is completely closed, halfway, and then all the way open. All right, and we're staying tight. We're staying to the same curvature that we started with the 0 guard, and we're just slowly trying to blend that, give that illusion of it being kind of like a burst taper, but keeping the darkness around the hooks. I also apologize, my camera was out of focus on this side for some reason, so when it goes to the other side it's a lot more clear. And so since we started with the number 2 guard to kind of clear off the canvas, that 1 guard was our last guard. So now we're moving back to the blade completely open, and we're going to slowly now blend down and just picking dark spots, picking out areas that shouldn't be there, and slowly working our way down with the lever. So we're going to go completely open, halfway, and then completely closed. And when you get completely closed, don't be afraid to push up that line, because the only way you're going to actually get that blurry taper or blurry fade is actually getting rid of that ball guideline, and you have to be able to push up and Now we're doing some minor detailing with our trimmers, because that's what's going to really take out the shaver and to where the clipper is closed, right? And since we're here, we're gonna go ahead and start edging him up just so we can really see how the taper's looking. Sometimes, I mean, I already know how this client, how his hair texture is and how his hair reacts. Sometimes it's a good little tip to go ahead and put the C cup in first and then do your taper, so you could really hone in and really pick out what you need and to keep that edge as dark as possible. So here we're just going to do some detail work with the scissors. These are my Barber Nova shears. If you're curious, they're the Red Almighty shears. I'll have a link down below for them. Right here I'm just in front of him and I'm looking at both C cups to make sure that they're both symmetrical and where I need to put this one in to make it symmetrical as the other one. So now we're moving on to his beard. His beard was already pretty short, so I took a number 1 guard and went with the grain. After that, I went ahead and flipped it over, opened the blade up, and went one against the grain from the bottom of his earlobe up. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now we're going to go ahead and go with the 0 guard, completely open, and work our way down to closed as well. After that, we're gonna go ahead and do no guard and completely open and work our way down to close. All right, and each time we're closing the lever, we're moving up about 1/4 of an inch. Now we're going ahead and putting his vertical bars in, just tapping the line barely, keeping it as sharp as we can, but not pushing him back at all. And then I'm gonna go ahead and after this, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the back of his beard line as well. All right, we wanna keep it as natural as we can, keep it as full as we can, but where we could have it as sharp as we can as well. Don't be afraid to move the client's neck as well to make the job a little bit easier for yourself. Right here is a great example. So I go over the back line one time and you can see it's not too crispy, it's not that great, but you go ahead and ball them out, get it kind of there. That's the rough draft. And now you go ahead and reline it again and look how much crispier and how much sharper the line just got. So you got to make sure you go over it a couple times to get as crispy and as sharp as you can. Now moving on to the back taper, same steps. We're starting with the 0 guard closed, making about 1 inch guideline, maybe even 1.5 inch guideline on the back because he really wanted a high taper, really blown out. So we're gonna start with that, and then we're gonna slowly open up the lever, and then go up a little bit more, and then completely open the lever and kind of flick out into the 2 guard. Right here, I'm just taking my clipper over comb and just kind of blending into what that 2 guard didn't blend into. Now we're starting with the blade completely open. And as you can tell, I'm kind of flicking out into that 0 guard so I don't make a harsh guideline or don't create any new lines. So at first I'm kind of flicking out into it, and then slowly I'm going to start kind of really fading into it and keeping it more flesh. And then we're going to go ahead and close the lever down a little bit and just keep lever playing and moving around so we completely get that line out. Whoo, there we go. Now the taper's finally coming together. Now look at that. Looking real blurry. It has that good contrast, good transition from light to dark. After this, we're gonna go ahead and hit it with the shaver just to really add another transition in there. We're going ahead and putting the neckline in, not pushing them in. We want to keep it as crispy as we can, like I say, but not pushing them in. All right, and it's going to take multiple reps. You can't sit there and do one time and expect it to be sharp. So go ahead, this is just a rough draft. Go ahead, edging everything in, comb it through, and then reline again. Now we're going to move on to the facial hair and go ahead and line up the lip area, lining up right above the lip. Going to follow on the other side, keep it nice and clean, combing the hairs either direction that we need to make sure that there's no excess or nothing hanging over. Right here I just took my one guard, opened again, and just saw some uneven areas, so just going over real quick, knocking it down so that when I come back with my trimmer I can get a nice crisp line. Alright, so the back line, I'm following it closest to his jawbone, and then I'm kind of dropping it as I get closer to his Adam's apple, and that gives the illusion when he's looking straight at him that he has a nice sharp jawline, but it keeps that density and that fullness in the front area. Right here I'm just catching any fly hairs, anything hanging over. Alright, now moving to the hairline. How to fix his hairline, how to get it sharp. So I'm starting with his more dominant side first, getting that down. And I started from the left side, moving that over to the right, to the middle, and getting that nice and crispy. As you can tell right now, looking pretty crispy, didn't even put any razor to it. And I'm going to follow it to the other side and match that side as much as I can to the left side. Alright, so I started with his dominant side, brought that to the middle, and I'm going to his more weaker side that was a little bit more patchy. And I'm going to try getting that as crispy as I can, combing the hairs forward, combing them in every direction, and making sure I get it nice and crispy. Now I went ahead and brought him back, put some shave serum on his forehead, on his beard, because now we're gonna get to the razor work. Alright, pretty self-explanatory. Make sure to stretch the skin, hold the blade at about a 45-degree angle, and go to work. So tension and stretching the skin is very important. So as you can tell here, I'm using my thumb and my two fingers to stretch the skin out, and then use my razor angled on his forehead and pulling straight to that line that I created with my trimmer. Now when it comes to low tapers, edge ups are very important. That's what's going to make everything stand out the most. So I'm starting with his C-cup area, making that nice and crisp, making that nice and round, having a good shape to that. And I'm going to lead with that shape into his beard. So see how I connected the C-cup to the beard, and that's what's going to be technically my guy line to follow throughout his beard. Same way how you use a traveling line or traveling guy line when you're cutting hair. You pull the hair on the top, cut that hair, and then that's going to be your traveling guy line to the back. Same thing with the beard. So I traveled it from the C-cup into his beard, and that's the first pass. That's pretty crispy, that's pretty sharp, but like I said, we're gonna go ahead and comb through that and then make sure to get really detailed and get that beard as crispy as we can, as sharp as we can, so that when he goes home and washes, take a shower, everything's gonna look crispy and intact. here are the 4 points that I'm pointing out that you want to make sure is cohesive and all symmetrical. So make sure all these points are connected together. That's how you're going to get that perfect round shape in the beard and the C cup. Also, this is some extra details that your clients will appreciate, and that makes you stand out to other barber compared to other barbers. Is when they're lying back like this real quick, go ahead and just take that razor, go against the edge up that you just made on the neckline, just so it lasts, you know, extra day or two, and clients really appreciate that. So here I'm combing out the hair into the direction of the line that I made, and I'm taking my scissors and just cutting all of that off, just so that, you know, whenever he's moving his hair, nothing gets out of shape. Now I'm taking aftershave and I'm cleaning off his skin. He's talking about how it is burning him, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. So the reason I'm doing this is clean off the skin, make sure it's also all nice and dry. I'm gonna go ahead and take the blow dryer and dry off his skin so that no oils are on his skin, so that when I put the enhancement on, it'll last, you know, up to 2 to 4 days depending on how they wash it. So now here I'm using my 245 dye, and I have the shape where I want it, and I'm just following through with it, tapping the trigger, putting layer by layer, because, you know, less is more. So you want to go ahead and put layer by layer and put in areas that you may need and some areas that you don't need. So go ahead and just spraying it, checking, pulling off, checking. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the back line as well, putting a little bit line slightly, and boom. See, I didn't put too much, but you can already tell it makes a difference. It just makes everything pop that much more and takes your haircuts to the next level. But before having to put the enhancement in there, you could tell lineup is looking crispy, you know, beard looks good, but this just takes that cut to the next level. This is a little tip that I do. I take 2 cards and put them on top of each other just so I don't get any dye anywhere else. Make sure after you put the dye in there that you go ahead one more time with your razor. These are details. This is what your clients appreciate and what makes your haircut stand out. Just get everything nice and crispy. And man, my dude's looking good. He came in a little rough, but now he's feeling himself. He's good and he's ready for the week. Confidence is at an all-time high. You know, he's ready to go out. He's ready to do his thing. So that's what haircuts do, man. You know, you come in not feeling yourself, you get a nice haircut, and everything changes. Your whole mood changes. That's what I love about haircuts. Quick details with the scissors, and that's pretty much gonna wrap up the cut, guys. Lastly, I'm just gonna go ahead and put some water in his hair, put some gel in there. We're gonna grow out his hair a little bit so he starts getting his curls in, because he used to do a comb over, but I told him to grow it out, get some curls going, curls for the girls. So that's what we're doing right now. But I think it cut came out dope. Nice low taper, crispy lineup, crispy beard, nice high taper in the back. My dude came in rough. You're gonna see it right now in a little bit. Came in a little rough, but made sure to bring him back to life. I also put the talc on there just to make that haircut pop. So this is how he came in before. Rough, hurting, and ooh, my dude's back in the game. Got the little curls on top, low taper, beard looking good. Make sure to subscribe, like YouTube. If you guys do enjoy the content, I appreciate you. I'll catch you guys on the next one.